Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly excited to have you here today because we're going to demystify something that literally affects all of us, yet usually feels completely impenetrable: the maze of government public records. Whether you're a journalist, an independent researcher, or just an informed citizen trying to figure out what's happening in your own backyard, understanding how to access these documents is an absolute superpower. So get ready, because we're going to build your ultimate investigator's toolkit.
Let's be honest for a second. Have you ever tried to track down a specific court document, maybe a property deed or a city contract, only to hit a massive, frustrating bureaucratic wall? You know the information is out there. You know it's supposed to be public, but somehow you end up clicking through 10 different websites, staring at confusing fee structures, and ultimately coming up totally empty-handed. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are absolutely not alone.
Here's the fundamental truth we've got to establish right off the bat. Finding public information is a skill. It's a highly specific, acquired skill. Now, transparency laws absolutely exist to protect your right to know, but the government doesn't just keep all its records in one giant, neatly organized filing cabinet. The data is heavily siloed. To be successful, you must know exactly where to look, which portal to use, and what rules apply to that specific jurisdiction. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with unlocking public records, then navigate federal courts, look at local court access, move over to city records and the CPRA, examine the rules of recording property documents, and finally, wrap things up with e-filing and third parties. Section 1, Navigating Federal Courts. We're going to start our journey right at the national level. When we talk about massive civil rights disputes, federal criminal cases, or bankruptcy filings happening across the country, we're dealing with the United States federal court system. If you're hunting for federal records, there's one acronym you absolutely need to know, and that's PACER. PACER stands for Public Access to Court Electronic Records. It's basically the ultimate centralized internet-based database for the federal judiciary. We are talking about a single system containing over 1 billion federal appellate, district, and bankruptcy court documents. It's a total goldmine of information, and it actually updates every single day at midnight. But, accessing this goldmine isn't completely without its hurdles. Check out this number, 10 cents. That is the hidden cost of federal bureaucracy. To view a document or even just to pull up a single page of search results in PACER, you're charged 10 cents per page. So if you search a common name and it returns 2 pages of results, boom, that's 20 cents just to look at the list. It might not sound like much at first, but if you're researching a massive multi-year litigation, those dimes add up incredibly fast. But thankfully, there's a built-in safety net. There is a maximum charge cap of $3 per document. Since the fee is 10 cents a page, this means once a document hits 30 pages, the billing just stops for that specific file. So whether a court opinion is 30 pages or 300 pages long, the absolute most you will pay to download that single document is $3. This definitely keeps the cost of accessing massive, detailed rulings somewhat reasonable for the public. Now, PACER bills you on a quarterly basis, but here is the absolute best part. If you accrue $30 or less in a single quarter, your fees are entirely waived. That means you can pull up to 300 pages every 3 months completely for free. Plus, the whole system is constantly evolving. They now offer an audio streaming pilot for certain hearings, and there's a federal court PACE's integrated database for really deep dive research. In fact, the federal courts actually note that 75% of PACER users don't end up paying a fee in a given quarter simply because of this waiver. Section 2, Local Court Access. Okay, let's shift gears and zoom in on the state and county level. It's really vital to understand that local superior court systems, like the ones in San Diego or Orange counties, they don't share their databases with the federal PACER system at all. You have to go directly to that county's specific online portal. The sheer variety of cases handled down at the local superior court level is just massive. This is where the everyday legal fabric of a community is woven. It covers unlimited civil cases for disputes over $25,000, limited civil cases for smaller disputes, all local criminal matters from misdemeanors to felonies, family law like divorces, and probate cases managing wills and estates. If it happens in a local community, the paper trail is almost certainly generated right here. Now, what's really wild is this specific price tag. $40. If you ever need an official certified copy of a court document locally, say in San Diego County, it's going to cost you $40 per certified document. While regular, uncertified copies might only run you 50 cents a page, getting that official stamp for legal use comes with a steep premium. It's a pretty perfect example of how local courts generate necessary revenue, but it also clearly creates a financial barrier for everyday citizens.
And keep in mind, you can't get everything from the comfort of your couch. For very strict privacy and procedural reasons, certain records are walled off from online portals entirely. Juvenile cases or instances where charges haven't yet been officially filed by the district attorney are strictly excluded from the internet. To access those, you can't just click a button. You literally have to go down to the courthouse in person and present a valid ID. Section 3, City Records and the CPRA. Let's step completely out of the courthouse now and look at city and municipal records. How do you find out about a city's budget, read emails between council members, or get the details on a municipal contract? Well, all of that is governed by state sunshine laws. In California, the absolute gold standard for this transparency is the CPRA, or the California Public Records Act. And let me tell you, this is an incredibly powerful law. It fundamentally declares that the public has the right to access any writing containing information relating to the conduct of the public's business. Print, photographic, electronic formats, it doesn't matter. If the local government prepared it, owns it, or uses it, you generally have a legal right to see it. So how do you actually wield this power? Well, if we look at the city of San Diego, for example, it's a highly structured process. Step 1, you submit your request through their specific online portal, which is called Next Request. Step 2, you have got to be meticulously specific. Avoid abbreviations, give exact date ranges, and name the specific departments. If you're vague, your search is going to stall out. And step 3, patience. By law, the city has 10 days, and sometimes they extend it to 14 days for complex searches, just to make a determination on whether they even have disclosable records. Section 4, Recording Property Documents. Next up, we're transitioning away from city halls over to the county assessor and recorder. If you're researching property deeds, liens, or real estate transfers, you are entering a world that operates under entirely different, highly rigid rules. This brilliantly illustrates just how uncompromising local government formatting can be. To even record a property document, the physical piece of paper practically has to be perfect. In San Diego, it requires exactly 1/2-inch margins on the vertical sides. You need original wet ink signatures. The assessor's parcel number absolutely has to be there. The notary seal must be completely legible for microfilm. And get this, if your paper isn't exactly 8.5 by 11 inches, they'll slap you with an additional $3 penalty per page. No joke. But here's the major catch when you're dealing with the county recorder. You are completely on your own. State law strictly prohibits the county recorder from providing any legal advice or helping you draft your documents. They'll gladly take your fees and file your correctly formatted paperwork. But if you don't actually know how to draft a quitclaim deed or a preliminary change of ownership report, they cannot guide you. You basically have to consult an expert or figure it out yourself. Section 5, E-filing and third parties. So the crucial point here is, how do all these legal documents actually make it into the hands of the courts and clerks today? Gone are the days of just handing a stack of papers to a clerk over a counter. Welcome to the modern era of e-filing and third-party aggregators. Today, electronic filing isn't just an option, it's increasingly mandatory for civil cases. And to do it, you generally have to use a certified third-party provider. Take courtfiling.net, for example, which happens to be the exclusive provider for the San Diego County Bar Association. These platforms act as a digital bridge. They convert your files to the strict court-required PDF format, they electronically serve the opposing counsel, and they securely transmit the documents. But of course, this convenience and compliance comes at a cost, with fees starting at around $14.95 for a single filing. This whole ecosystem brings up a huge distinction every good investigator needs to understand: official government portals versus third-party aggregator sites. Official portals like Pacer or a county court website are the primary sources. But out there on the web, there are countless private data brokers, like CaliforniaCourtRecords.us, that scrape these public systems and offer to search criminal, civil, and property records for you all in one place. While these aggregator sites are super convenient, you absolutely have to read the fine print. These sites explicitly state they are not consumer reporting agencies under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Because they aren't the original source, they legally cannot guarantee accuracy, comprehensiveness, or currency. In fact, it is expressly illegal to use the info you pull from these third-party sites to determine someone's eligibility for personal credit, for tenant screening, or for employment. They are strictly for research, not for official consumer evaluation.
And that brings us to the ultimate question you really need to ponder as you build your own investigator's toolkit. As these digital portals continue to expand and the line between public right to know and private convenience gets blurrier, who truly controls our public history? Is it the government agency that stores the data, or the private platforms and paywalls that we increasingly rely on to access it? Keep that delicate balance in mind the next time you go searching for the truth. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy hunting.